So I want to talk a little bit about Avengers Endgame, um, why everything kind of went down the way that it went down, so people can kind of understand some of the symbolism associated with it, because there's been a long build up to it, and so the message was pretty powerful. And if you kind of understand what Marvel was trying to do, then it becomes even more powerful. It's not just about missing characters and all this kind of stuff and kind of moving on. It's really about kind of where we are going as a collective consciousness. So, first off, if you understand alchemy, then you'll understand what iron, the metal iron, represents and what Iron Man actually represented. So, iron is the metal that's associated with Mars. And the planet Mars, the red planet, is basically like if you're going into more of like the spiritual side of alchemy, and then also like the chakra system, your energy centers or whatever, then that's kind of the root chakra. Is basically what that's associated with. So that's basically like your animal instinct, like your connection to your ancestors, your lowered self, but not in a bad way. It's really kind of who you are at your core, at your foundation. Um, that needs to be kind of understood before you can actually evolve. So that's why it started with Iron Man, but it won't end with him, basically, because if you notice, he was really self-centered for most of the time. It was all about him and everything. And then as he started to evolve and kind of come up out of his selfishness, by the time he was able to fully understand the gist of everything, that's why he had to go, basically. And it was through, the main deaths in this movie were basically sacrifices, because, symbolically that kind of represents a conquering and a moving on. So you sacrifice to kind of evolve, basically. So in that aspect, that's why he had to, be the one to kind of save everybody, because it was kind of going from the Iron Age, like the way of the older way of thinking, the carbon-based, self-centered way of thinking, going into the actual crystalline type of energy, which is Captain Marvel. You notice that Iron Man needed to be draped in armor and everything. He had like a fake heart, basically. Like it was all this power that he was using that wasn't necessarily a part of him. If he didn't have his armor, he would not have been a superhero, basically. So, and that went from that. Marvel went from that to go into the crystalline type of energy, where it's Captain Marvel, where her DNA is activated. So she is basically kind of like the Christ consciousness personified, so to speak, which is why she has the archangel colors of red and blue. Um, yeah, so that's kind of where they're going with that, and that's kind of where Captain America, not Captain America, Iron Man. That's kind of where like his arc kind of had to end in order for the Marvel universe to evolve, to kind of get away from the self-centeredness and kind of open up that heart chakra, and kind of move on and kind of get to that elevated level of consciousness. Um, so if you notice too, if you understand like kind of alchemy in a physical way, that if you add carbon to iron, you get steel, which is like the most predominant alloy on the planet right now. It's pretty much it's like a state of consciousness. It's kind of like in the buildings and the weapons, kind of like the carbon-based human with the iron way of thinking. It's kind of where we are and where we're actually moving out of, which is why Iron Man kind of had to do his thing and get on out of there, so that the Marvel universe's consciousness could evolve. Um, yeah, and then if you look at Black Widow, who sacrificed herself for the Soul Stone, the black spider actually in spirituality represents the shadow self. So basically, that's why her and Hawkeye had to go out together to basically get the Soul Stone, because what they were trying to do, what that was basically symbolizing, is like you have to go and actually conquer that shadow self as well in order to fully evolve. So it's like the lowered self, getting, understanding that root chakra, understanding the root, and then the shadow, and kind of elevating your game. So that's kind of it's like the same thing. So like Iron Man will represent, like if you've seen Us, the reason why the tethered people were wearing the red jumpsuits is because it's the same type of thing. It's basically that's why Iron Man was red. That's that type of that mode of consciousness, basically kind of being the primal. aspect that you have to have that. I mean, it's important to have that because that's where your drive comes from. Like I said, a connection to your ancestors and everything, but it also you have to continue to evolve. So you go from the red to the orange to the yellow, going on a spectrum is kind of the way that you kind of, have to evolve. So that's kind of where that was going. And then if you notice, pretty much like, you're adding the red and the blue, the left and the right brain. Like if you look at Thor, you notice like one of his eyes is kind of pinkish and the other eye remain blue. It's basically kind of symbolizing the left and the right brain kind of coming together. And so when he did that, that's why he was able to kind of move on too. It's because he was thinking with both his logic and his instinct, basically. So it's analytical as well as kind of like the creativity kind of being matched. Is why his character was kind of able to, you notice he got all this information. He was finally able to evolve after he talked to his mom again. He got the female aspect, like his mom was able to kind of tell him what was going on, and he was able to move on. So that's kind of what happened with his arc. And with Captain America, if you notice, his arc ended because of kind of what's going on right now. So you notice he had a shield. The Captain America shield was made of vibranium. So if you know what vibranium is, basically melanin. And if you look at his shield, it's the blue and the red mixed together. Basically kind of representing the left and the right brain, the evolution, the merging. But it also has a big pentagram on it, like a 5-pointed star with pointing up, which means basically ascension. So if you're looking at the 5-pointed star, where it's pointing is kind of going with ascension and descension. So basically what Captain America represented by using that shield of melanin was kind of like this country was kind of built like that. You know what I'm saying? Like he was able to kind of show like how America was built on the backs and the minds of melanated people, which is why at the end when he gives a shield to the black guy, he's basically like, it's yours. It has always been, because people are kind of understanding that now. So that's why his character went and got old and basically kind of handed over the keys. It's the same reason why Thor handed his kingdom over to the black woman. It's basically like, yeah, you guys, kind of were running this the whole time, and we are kind of getting out of that phase. So all of those things kind of had to happen. Oh, and then you also kind of another interesting thing too. Like if you were watching that movie and you saw that Iron Man was talking about when he first got back to the Avengers after he was rescued by Captain Marvel. He was mad at Cap. He was like, I told you guys we needed a wall around the world, basically like a shield around the world to stop things like Thanos from happening. And like I was talking about, like with carbon and iron making steel. Who else was talking about a wall like that, like a steel see-through wall? You know what I'm saying? So that's Trump, right? Trump was talking about that. If you pay attention to his speeches when he talks about the wall, it's usually a high up wall that you can see through that's made of like steel. Right, so he was talking about the same thing. So when you hear Trump like talking about that wall, he's not talking about something that they're going to build to kind of keep like some Mexican families out that are just trying to get here. No, that was more of a consciousness play. He's trying to get billions of dollars because money is energy. So he's trying to get people to kind of buy into staying within the confines of the old Iron Age. And America is basically decided, no, we're not going to, fall for that. We're going like the Captain America route, where we're just going to give people freedom and kind of let things fall where they should, which is why, that's why Captain America basically was like, yeah, here you go, brother, take the shield, America's yours. And yeah, so that's kind of why all of that kind of went down the way that it went down. It's because all those characters that are kind of exiting, they all show you some aspects of kind of what's going on right now, as far as like the collective consciousness with people. So if you were watching that movie and you were kind of wondering why all that stuff went down the way that it did, those are kind of like the main points as to what they were trying to say and why they were trying to say it. It's because that's kind of where we're headed right now, and they try to make it nice, like, yeah, we're just going to kind of give this back to you, but it really is, things are kind of getting back to where they should in a way. So let me know what you think about this. Like I said, if I didn't go into a lot, it was just like the main, like the deaths and like the characters that transition out of the universe and of the Marvel universe and why. was kind of what I want to talk about. So yeah, if there's anything else from the movie that you kind of wanted me to break down, you can definitely leave that in the comments. Or if you think I'm wrong or crazy, you can leave that there too. But yeah, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll enjoy mine.